Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on what day is it?
Sunday.
Sunday, Easter, indeed. Sunday, April 20. The Celtics just won game one of their first round series against the Orlando Magic. 103-86 victory at TD Garden. Celtics go up 1-0 in the series. Quite the interesting game. Tatum and Jalen didn't shoot necessarily very well. Derrick White had a 30 ball. Payton Pritchard was big off the bench. And then the Magic, Franz and Paolo, both had pretty big nights, and everyone else on the team did nothing. So we'll go over everything. But first and foremost, Celtics got to win a 17-point victory in game one, which is a pretty good start.
Yeah, 17 points looks really good when you look at the box score and everything. It was not always shaping up to be a 17-point win if you didn't get to watch this game. Boston started pretty well. Like, they're engaged defensively in the first quarter. Derrick White got off to a very strong start. Then Payton Pritchard kind of came in and carried the torch. He had 11 of 13 points for Boston at one stretch. He was unbelievable at the beginning of the second quarter. Then things got worse. Orlando was physical in this game. They were physical right from the beginning, for what it's worth. Like, first Tatum drive of the game, KCP hard fouls him in a no easy buckets type of way, and like he goes crashing to the ground, whatever. Then late in the first quarter, Orlando's just getting their hands to offensive rebounds. Like, they're not even necessarily getting them. It's just getting tipped around a whole lot, slowing down the process of Boston getting possession. And then they aren't really able to get out in transition. And Mazzulla talked about this in the post-game presser where he was like, yeah, like that really messed up our ability to create offense. We got stale towards the end of the second half, or first half rather. And you could see it. They scored, 6 points in the last 7 minutes of the second quarter. It was brutal. Orlando came back from 12 down. They take a halftime lead. And then the game changes again. They come out in the third quarter. All of a sudden, Drew Holiday is just dog-walking Franz Wagner on defense. Franz is struggling to get any good shots up after having a good start to the game. Drew steals it from him halfway through, pulls it for three, and has this incredible, like, fired-up celebration moment. And from that point on, it just felt like everything clicked for Boston. Everybody was more engaged defensively. They were deflecting passes. They forced 6 turnovers in the third quarter alone, and they look up at the scoreboard at the end of it, and they're up 13, and then that was really the last time it was ever in question. So very impressive physicality response from Boston in a playoff setting.
Yeah, they looked kind of bad for the first little bit of this game. The offense looked really bad in particular. I thought they were defending all right. I thought they were keeping the Magic to shots they wanted them to take, and they did that for most of the game. They just kind of let Franz and Paolo take their one-on-one matchups, do whatever they want, and then trusted the other guys couldn't do much outside of that, which they were correct. But it just felt like the offense wasn't very intentional in the first half. Like, they weren't really trying to be overly aggressive. They weren't really, they weren't running a million Tatum pick and rolls. They weren't getting Jaylen Brown consistent matchups where he wanted. Kristaps Porzingis was pretty ineffective the whole night. He was not good, and this might just not be his series. Like, he doesn't respond to physicality very, very well. It might just be a series where he's a pick and pop big, and that's fine because he can do that very well. But he was getting bullied a little bit inside by the Magic's physicality. So something to keep an eye on there as well. As the third quarter got going, you got a little bit of a boost. Sticking the first half first, Derrick White and Payton Pritchard gave them what they needed in those minutes, and that was important, and they carried that over into the second half. Both those guys had huge games, but the third quarter is really where the offense came alive. Drew Holiday was 3 of 3. He had a huge spark. He had 4 assists and I think 9 points on 3 3-pointers. So he was big for them in that quarter, really giving them an energy boost, like you mentioned. He had 3 steals as well, so he was doing it on both ends. And then, I mean, for as rough of a showing as Tatum had shooting the ball, like, you did feel the intensity he brought pick up a little bit in that third quarter. He was attacking the glass a little bit harder. He was trying to be intentional, and it just felt like the Celtics came out of halftime realizing, like, all right, like, we know that if we lock in, we can be better offensively. And so they did it, and then they ran away with it because I can't express to you how much this Magic team cannot score outside of Paolo and Franz.
Dave, I mean, I took notes during this game because I was just trying to see, like, what the trends are going to be to, write about as the game went on. One of the things I wrote down halfway through the second quarter was Magic guys not named Franz or Paolo are just twiddling their thumbs. They had like 34 combined points of Orlando's 30-something points at that point of the game. how many times in a row can I say points? And they never really came to life. Like Anthony Black had a nice moment in the first quarter where he was getting offensive rebounds. He had 3 offensive rebounds, but there really aren't any guys on Orlando's roster that you could point at today and be like, wow, that guy actually like had a good scoring night. Like, let's see, Jonathan Isaac, I think, finished with like 7 points or something. So he had a few buckets, but really besides Paulo and Franz, they didn't get anything going, as you said. And is that really sustainable through a playoff series? Like, I saw Jimmy from the Garden Report had said this and it got put up on Twitter. So I saw the take and I feel it. I don't know if it's 1,000% ironclad, but Orlando's 2 best guys had a really strong scoring output tonight. Tatum and Brown didn't have a big scoring output for Boston yet. And Porzingis too, you can loop him in there. And yet this game was a 17-point blowout when the final buzzer went off.
I mean, yeah, the Magic don't have depth, and the Celtics do. Like, I feel like we kind of knew that coming in. You saw it in the first game. Paolo and Franz outplayed Tatum and Brown in the first half of this game. Like, they were better. They were more aggressive. They got to their spots more consistently. And yet the Magic were only up 1 because the Celtics have Derrick White and Payton Pritchard to back their guys up, and the Magic have nobody to back their guys up. Like, they really couldn't do anything offensively. There was one point in this game where I looked up, and outside of Paolo and Franz, nobody on the Magic had more than 2 makes in the game, which is, I think, close to what they finished with. I can check here. Outside of Franz and Paolo, they had one person make more than 2 shots, and it was Jonathan Isaac, who was 3 of 4 from the field for 7 points. So just not a very good night. Tatum and Brown, like I said, they picked it up in the second half. It felt like they were a little bit better. But Derrick and Pritchard were the story of this game, man. Those guys were great. Derrick White, 30 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 10 of 8 from the field, 18 from the field, 7 of 12 from 3. He was playing off the ball. He was coming off screens. He was taking the ball in his hands and making stuff happen. Like, he just knows how to fill the gaps really well offensively. And he's not always going to get this many shots. He's not always going to score this many points. He's not always going to be this much of a focal point of the offense. But on a night where Tatum and Brown are struggling, you can really see how having a third guy and Porzingis struggling too, like you said, we'll throw him in. Like, you can really see how having another guy capable of putting up a performance like this can put a lot of pressure on a team. And again, the Magic held Tatum and Brown. They pressured them. They physically bullied them and KP really well. Like, I thought they actually, I don't want to say got in their heads, because that means like they had them shook or whatever. I just think they did a really good job of pushing them around a little bit and throwing them off their rhythm. And it didn't matter, because then when it came down to it, Derrick White was still open, because if they put 2 on the ball or threw it extra pressure at some point on the floor, Derrick White was still there. And Payton Pritchard, you can lump him in there too. So it was just this is just a testament to how well built the Celtics roster is and how tough it might be for teams without that depth defensively or that depth offensively to contend with a team that has guys 4th in their offensive options list who can put up 30.
Yeah, and we can't even discount what Pritchard did today. Like, this is like one of those games where you look at like the per 36, or you think about the per 36 version of what we saw from Payton Pritchard. It felt like per second Pritchard was scoring more points than Derrick White. Like, he just had these ridiculous outbursts very close together where he was putting up buckets. Like, first half he plays like 6-7 minutes and he has 11 points out of nowhere, goes ballistic. But Derrick was just a consistent force for Boston. You could tell the confidence from him was on another level. He had a moment in this game where he was just taking like fuck you. Like that was the threes he was taking. They were actually going in. He was so confident. He looked great. Last year in Miami, he had a big first round game too. So this isn't like a foreign thing for him. He's becoming somebody that Boston can truly rely on in the playoffs. And he does make it so much more difficult, as you said, for an opposing team to look and be like, how the hell do we stop Boston's offense? And to Orlando's credit, they did a good job. But once transition opportunities started to, resurface for Boston, it was over. They had no chance of getting back. Derrick did a good job of getting out in transition a few times. He had the 4-point play, which was a pseudo transition possession, hit a layup in transition. And the team as a whole just looked so much more comfortable when they were out running. And you just need to see more of that as the series goes on. The best part about the playoffs is there are adjustments that happen. Boston's adjustments can just kind of come within the flow of play. If we want to talk about scoring, if Orlando overcompensates to take away Derrick White as an off-ball option, then I'm sure something is going to become easier for Jayson or Jalen. That's just the way the Celtics are built, and it's going to be a really fun thing to see unravel from this perspective where we sit. Maybe not for Orlando.
Yes. Before we continue, I need to tell you guys about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action this basketball season, this baseball season, every sports season. You can make sure to check it out. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just put more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 extra cash. Spring is here. Baseball's here. You can pick strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, anything like that. Pick more or less on any of them. And you can also mix and match. So if you're a big basketball fan, you're checking that out, you can take a player, a basketball player, put it in a lineup with a baseball player, pick a strikeouts, pick a dunk, pick a 3-pointers, pick an RBI. You can throw a ball, mix and match in one single thing. You can do with any sports as well, hockey, esports if you want, football when football season comes around, anything like that. You can make sure to check it out there. It's the best place to win real money this baseball and basketball season. Which players are going up, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports takes into real money all season long. Sam and I do the prize picks on the pregame show. I don't think we did very well today, but we try our best, and we've been doing it. We've picked it up in recent weeks. I think we're 500 in the last 4, which is better than the record we had previously. But download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks will run your game. All right, back to the Celtics game 1, which it's still weird that this is the playoffs, and I don't think it'll feel like the playoffs until they play a second game against Orlando, because then it'll feel like a series rather than just a one-off. But yeah, you were talking about Pritchard. Pritchard only played 24-44 and he had 19 points. So I think your philosophy of points per minute is pretty apt there. But then again, Derrick only played 36 and he had 30. So I guess it was kind of similar. What do you make of Kristaps in this series? I know I mentioned it, but I just feel like this isn't going to be his series, and that's fine because I don't think they need him to be incredible. But I do wonder if the magic adjustment is to almost not bait them into getting Kristaps looks, but he could not handle the physicality down low. And were there some shots that he missed that he should have made? Yes, but this just doesn't seem like the series that Kristaps is going to thrive in.
So I'll answer your question with a question, and then I'll talk. Do you feel like there were shots that he took that you were like, that doesn't really look like a good shot?
There, maybe I would need to go back and watch. It just felt like a lot of the post looks that usually turn into good shots were not developing the right way because the Magic were pushing him around.
I kind of feel that. Like, I don't disagree with you. I didn't think he looked as imposing as he usually does, where he can use his superpower of I'm taller than everybody and I'm just going to shoot this and nobody's going to be able to bother me, because that wasn't the case today. I think the physicality certainly had a role in it, but there's also a part of it where I think he could have just had an off night. I think there's a possibility that he could be a real factor in one of these games. I just think this was a night where Boston realized that other guys had it going. They were able to kind of put Orlando in a tough spot in other ways. Like Porzingis, as much as he is like a fun watch in the half court, isn't really a fast break transition player. He's just not. And that's fine. And when they really thrived in this game, it was transition. And, if you want to tie that to the point of maybe it's not a Kristaps series, then sure. I think that's a pretty fair observation. But I think there's more to be seen with him. He didn't really take, what did he take? 1 3 in this game? 2 threes? So he wasn't really active from beyond the arc either.
That's my problem with this type of game from KP.
So maybe,
and I'll go, but
to tie it back to physicality, like maybe he's not going to be able to create enough separation by setting screens to set the Orlando defender back, where they have to switch or make a decision where he gets loose on a pick and pop, which is where a lot of his threes do come from. I don't know where to put my worry meter, though. I think it's an interesting point, and I think it's something to watch in game 2 on Wednesday, because, I think after 2 games, you kind of have a little bit more of a feel for what they're going to be able to do with him, and you can attribute it to more than just, oh, yeah, he's having an off night. Thankfully, like, they won this game by a lot. It wasn't the kind of thing where you're just, like, watching it thinking to yourself, wow, he's really taking them out of it. Because, like, despite his numbers not being good, I don't feel like he took them out of this game, or like when he got the ball, other than bad shot in this game was a 24-second violation where they closed out really well on him and he had to shoot a 3 and did a weird pump fake up and under and shot an air ball. besides that, don't think he was the shooter of a lot of bad shots or did anything that made them settle for anything less than what they were looking
Kristaps?
for. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kristaps, you mentioned that 3. So he only took one other outside of that. That's a problem, right? Like I
I
feel
agree.
like if you are the Celtics and you know Kristaps might not have the best series, banging down low and getting inside and doing all that stuff, just run the pick and roll with Tatum. And he's not the best screen setter, so just have him, pop out from the screens and get out of there early so he's not actually taking the bump, right? Because if Carter's guarding him, and you'd have to go and check what the matchups are, and maybe they'll take Carter off of him, but Carter cannot guard. Like that was one of my 10 takeaways I wrote in my thing from this game. Carter cannot guard the perimeter. He's barbecue chicken. Like they tacked him relentlessly. He can't do it. If Carter's on Porzingis, screen with Porzingis, have him pop out to the 3-point line. At worst, you end up with Tatum on Wendell Carter and a guy running out to prevent KP from taking the 3. At best, they fight to keep Carter off of Tatum. KP, pops out. They do that. It's a win-win, really, and you don't have to do maybe you try to get him some looks on like Cole Anthony, but they were really fighting to keep him on guys or keep guys on him that can pressure him. So I don't know. I don't think worried about it is the right thing. Like I'm not worried about Kristaps. It just might not be his series, which is fine because I don't think they need it to be. Outside of that, looking at the rest of this game, it just really felt like exactly everything we were saying coming into it came true. Of the
Do we know
Magic
ball?
cannot score, and the Celtics can score more than them. And the Celtics didn't even I thought the Celtics were really bad offensively in this game. I don't think they did a good enough job attacking the Magic in ways that were advantageous to them consistently. And I think part of that is the Magic are a very good defensive team. But it didn't matter because the Magic can't score. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, I mean that close to the second quarter is as bad as it gets. It was just turnover or rush shot or difficult shot. And Orlando did a great job of being a factor in that. Like it wasn't just Boston getting lazy. It was just they had to work for every single shot they got on offense. But, I think they really did a good job of adjusting, and they came out in the second half and they were just turning defense into good offense. And it was a really good way to quickly put in a bunch of buckets, build a lead, and put this game to bed, because ultimately it does boil down to Orlando not being able to score. The Celtics were getting punked before the second half of the second quarter, and it didn't matter because Orlando sucks and they can't score. That is literally the case. That's what happened. The second half, they continued to not score, but it was because the Boston Celtics were really putting pressure on them. Missoula mentioned Drew Holiday's ball pressure in particular, and everybody else followed suit. So if you're going to defend like that, Orlando's going to have a really hard time. I mean, Paolo had a good game. Franz had an awful second half, and the rest of the guys didn't even show up.
Yeah, man. It's tough. Before we continue, I need to tell you about Gametime, other sponsor. Best place for all your ticketing needs this basketball and baseball season, and every season and every event you could possibly need, but specifically those 2 are going right now. If you are a sports fan, which I assume most of the people here listening are, let me pull up Gametime so I can show you exactly why it's so great. But as I'm doing that, I'll also inform you that it's for more than just sporting events. You can go to concerts, you can go to theater, you can go to comedy shows, everything like that. Gametime has got you covered. Let's check out a venue and see what we got cooking. I love Fenway, but we can switch it up. Let's check out Kendrick Lamar and SZA, who are going to be at Gillette Stadium in a little less than a month from now. We can take a look at what we got going on here. This is the super deal, according to Gametime. It's top 1% value. And if you click on it, you can click on the seat and you can see the exact view you're going to get from there for that type of event. So you can see what you're exactly going to see from that seat for the concert. You can toggle on and off the feature so you can see the fees as you're in the purchasing process. So you don't get surprised at the end with anything hidden. You can also see right here the fire deal tells you that that's the cheapest price in the venue. And it says stage layout coming soon because they're trying to figure out what the stage layout's going to be for Kendrick Lamar. On top of that, you can get last minute deals. So you can save up to 60% off by buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything like that. You also get the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Okay, last few things wrapping up the Celtics Magic Game 1 win. A lot of series left, obviously, but I think the Celtics should feel like they're in a pretty good spot considering I don't think they played their best basketball, and they still managed to get a win. We can talk about the fringe guys. I also want to talk a little bit more about Tatum and Jalen, but we can group all the other fringe guys into one. So the rotation today was the starting five. Then Horford, Pritchard, Cornette, Hauser off the bench, sort of like what we assumed it would be. Horford and Pritchard both got around 25 minutes. Cornette got 11. Hauser got 9. Thought Cornette was fine in his minutes. I just think this is the nature of the playoffs where you're probably not going to see him play a lot. I'd love to see some more pick and rolls with Tatum. He ran it a little in the first half, and I'd like to see if they can go to it more. But I do think the Magic's bully ball physical defense kind of contains that a bit. Hauser only got 1 shot. He missed his 3, but he had some other nice plays in there. Grabbed some boards, had a nice block, had a nice dive on the floor, like hustle play. And then we talked about Pritchard and Al Horford, 5, 5, and 3, 2 or 3 from the field. Played straight up defense, did what Al Horford was. Shout it out. But I don't know if there's anything you wanted to touch on with all those guys in between before we get to the rest. But
it is kind of strange seeing the sub patterns. So one thing I wrote down, I just thought it was weird that 3 guys all subbed in the first quarter altogether. It was Horford, it was Cornette, and it was Hauser, and it was not Pritchard, who is a top 3 finalist for the 6th Man of the Year award, and he was the 9th man technically today, even though minutes wise he was in fact the 6th man. But you got really good production out of the fringe guys who you expect to rely on, Pritchard being one of them. And I think that's the important thing. There are going to come moments, absolutely, where, Horford and Cornette and Hauser are all being asked to do more. Obviously, Horford being another one of the key rotation guys, always. But Hauser's going to have his moment. Cornette's going to have his moment. It's just a question of whether or not they're ready when that time comes. On the day where they really need Hauser to eat up some more minutes, maybe Pritchard doesn't have it going as much, and they need him to be the scoring guy off the bench. I think that's a possibility. I think it's something we could see down the line. I think the fringe rotations will be a bit more subjective on what's happening out on the floor rather than, of course Tatum's going to get his minutes, and of course Horford's going to be the guy that gets minutes off the bench because he's such a versatile defender. It's more about what are they doing for me now? How are they producing? And obviously the minutes today went to the guys who were putting the ball in the basket. So thumbs up.
Yeah, indeed. Last couple things. One on Tatum. Did you think this was a game where you saw Tatum take a lot of bad shots? I personally don't think it was. I think he actually just missed a lot of shots he normally makes. Like some of the threes were a little forced as he was trying to find his rhythm, as just is going to be the case forever. Dude missed a lot of layups, like a lot of shots around the rim that you're like, okay, he's going to make that. He just did not make. And so I would look for that moving forward and seeing if it's another trend, because obviously he didn't shoot very well last playoff, so everyone's quick to jump on it. I saw everyone tweeting out today like, of course Tatum gets carried, even though I think Shea had the same thing and no one cared, which was a funny Twitter discourse I saw. But all that to say, it just felt like Tatum missed a lot of bunnies that he usually makes. I'm not worried about it. I just think it was an off night. It's just unfortunate that it happened in the first game of the playoffs for narrative's sake.
Yeah, I mean, for narrative's sake, yes. I don't feel like there were a lot of moments where I was like, damn it. There was one that I thought was pretty funny. I think he pushed off Paulo, or maybe like made him stumble backwards. I don't remember the context of the play, but he was wide open. And then he did a step back, even though he was wide open and missed it. And I was just like, what are we doing here? It was like, I get sometimes you do the little dribble to get your rhythm, but it was just funny in the moment. Aside from that, can't really think of anything that I was like, wow, that was terrible. He was trying to be aggressive. Like,
yeah,
there were a lot of moments,
especially, yeah.
There were a lot of moments where I was like, oh, that's, I was really proud of him. I was like, he went to the rim in a situation where I really felt like they needed to put the pressure on Orlando. I think he made pretty good reads today. Did he turn the ball over very much? I don't think he did. 0. No turnovers for Tatum. So that's a category to keep an eye on as the playoffs go on, because one thing we know about stars in the playoffs, we see other guys around the league. As you mentioned, Shea didn't have a great game. They're going to see more pressure. And Tatum dealing with the pressure by not turning the ball over, pretty good. I don't think off the top of my head that there are a bunch of guys who had great, like any like first star guys that had great games. Luka had a good game. Paulo had a good game, I guess, right in front of us. Dumbass Sam talking. But like Cade had a bad game yesterday. Jalen Brunson was pretty inefficient. There are several examples of guys not playing their best ball all of a sudden when the defense is just keying on them way more than normal.
Yeah. Okay, last thing. Rounding out the injury front, I think, is important as well, just to cover things. First, Jayson, Obviously, flagrant foul on KCP middle of the game. Looks like he hurt his wrist. After the game, didn't really want to talk about it. Joe didn't really want to talk about it. Did say he got an X-ray and it came back clean. Did say like hurt for a little bit, was throbbing, and then it went away. Listen, Jayson Tatum's not going to not play. I don't believe that. If he shows up unquestionable, he's still going to play. Is it going to bother him? Maybe. We'll have to see. I think it's the same wrist that bothered him all those years ago, which I forgot about until I was mocked for having forgot about it upstairs. And then Jalen, we can lump into, and we can chat both. He looked okay. Still looked a little hurt. It looked like he was clearly not himself. That said, I thought he played all right. I thought the intensity was there. I thought he picked his spots in okay ways. And I think it's just going to be something we have to continue to monitor. But on the spectrum of disaster, opening Jaylen Brown game with the knee injury to the best possible thing, I'd put it around like pretty middle pack, like pretty middle ground. Like it wasn't great, wasn't bad. He was fine.
My takeaway from this game was not Jalen is hurt, which is a good thing. Like, he wasn't moving like he was hurt. Was he as explosive as normal? Probably not. Like, there was an alley-oop that he finished. Might have been a little bit of a wild pass from Drew to put him in a position where he had to do a layup, but felt like it was a type of play he would usually dunk. Ball went in the basket. Don't really care. He did have that moment where he either got blocked on the dunk or just got stuffed by the rim. Couldn't tell from our vantage point upstairs, but probably a play he at least gets the ball up over the rim normally. So aside from that, I thought he was fine. He didn't make threes. Don't expect him to make threes. I would not put your money on him making threes in the playoffs because he hasn't been a good three-point shooter all year. Wasn't a good three-point shooter today. He's still doing that thing where he shoots the ball really slow and shoots in slow motion. And I don't know why he's shooting like that now because he used to make a lot more threes when he wasn't doing that. But doesn't look injured. Just think he looks weird, but not injured.
Yeah, I think it's fine. And then I think Tatum was fine too.
I mean, Tatum immediately came back in the game.
Yeah.
I think if there was like a real angst, he would have come out. We all would have been like, oh boy, like why is he not on the floor? He got up. They reviewed for a flagrant. He never subbed out. He was fine. His mom did say she would go in the Magic locker room and fight people though, which is hilarious.
Indeed. That was a dirty play by KCP too. It didn't matter. Dirty play by KCP. He grabbed his shit and yanked it. It was the same. I didn't see
the slow-mo on it because it looked like he just went up to contest the dunk, but I believe it.
You remember the Grayson Allen play on Caruso?
Yes.
If Grayson Allen did what KCP did on Tatum, he would have gotten thrown out of the game. I'll say that.
Okay.
Let me find it. We can watch it here quick just so you can catch up in live. And I assume if I just search Pope Tatum, it'll come up unless it wants to show me Tatum in Vatican City or something. Yeah, here we go. I wonder if we can get like a good. I want the angle of like behind the basket. This is 55 seconds, so I assume this will show all the angles. Here's the play. It happened early fourth quarter. Celtics were not pleased. It looks like Tatum just banged his arm. And he he grabbed it and flung it a little bit. I don't know if it's going to show up behind the basket, but
let's see.
It just hold up. Let's see. Can you see?
I see.
Okay. It's going to play in a second.
All right. Like I kind of see it.
It's just like, what are you doing, man?
I didn't notice it on the first couple looks. I was looking for like a push in the back, not a pull.
It is what it is. Tough physical basketball. They're fine. Celtics were not happy with the refs in this game, and I feel like they let it go in the second half. But there I will say there were a lot of let's let them be physical, and then they're going to call Jaylen Brown defending Paolo in the post. There were some I could see the frustrations is the other point, but it didn't matter. The Magic can't score. Anyways, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to How About Them Celtics, and I'll let Sam take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. We're here every single day. New pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps like this one are up the morning after each game. And other videos are on the channel in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. You can find Jack and I streaming live for pregame for a half-hour before tip-off today. Didn't go well. We'll be back game 2, trying our best from the Garden to see if the Wi-Fi holds up. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple. All pods and recaps are up there. So if you follow us, they'll go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that very, very much. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. We'll be reading them tomorrow or today on Monday. as you hear this. So get them in, hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's the name of the podcast. All the streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at Jack's1NBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us.
Taco. Come on.
Taco.